What's up, guys? Chef Nicholas here, and you are watching Chef's Talk on Let's Talk Food. Now, before I get into this event that I did on a few weeks ago, I had the pleasure to collaborate with Chef Kartez. He does these events called Dinner Party Conversations. This is his information right here. You can also check his information out in the description box. Click on the down arrow and it'll open up and it'll give you all his social media, his website, and his YouTube channel. If you haven't checked it out, it's definitely worth a look. Amazing experience, amazing time. It was filled with good people, great food, and even greater conversations. But here on Let's Talk Food, we talk food. So I'm going to tell you about the dishes and the menu that me and him put together, how we got some of the flavors. It's going to be some pictures right here, maybe some videos right here. It's going to be a whole lot going on, but I'm going to slow it down for you so you can really grasp how great this experience was. I've done many things as far as catering, tastings, weddings, all that, but this right here is definitely, the whole experience was new to me. It's my first time doing it. Won't be the last. Definitely follow him, stay tuned. Some things we're working on, but you're gonna love it. So before we get into the food, I'd like to ask you if you could please pull out a chair, have a seat, and let's talk food. All right, so for this event, we did 2 appetizers. We did, for the entree, it was a protein entree. We did this, we had 5 sides. All the sides were done like family style. So it was like on the table, everything was lined up. You kind of picked and choose what you wanted. And then we did 1 dessert. So let's get into it, all right? The first appetizer that we did, I did a roasted red pepper hummus with grilled veggies. Just look how good that looks right there, right? Super simple recipe for the hummus, nothing too fancy. And if you want a recipe of anything that I've done, or if you think I should do a video for any of the content that I've done, comment down below, send me a message. I'll come up, I'll work out the logistics of the recipe and the video, or if you just want the recipe, I can send that to you. I have no problem sharing any of my content, guys. But with this one, I wanted to keep it simple. The vegetables, all I did was olive oil, salt, pepper, and I grilled them. I didn't want to overpower the characteristic of the vegetable. Each vegetable has its own unique flavor and texture. And then I didn't want to mask it by over seasoning it. So super simple, like I said, olive oil, pink salt, and freshly ground black pepper. And then what made the vegetable so good was that when you grill them, you get that char. That char enhances the flavor of the vegetable without overpowering it. They still had a little bite to them, but they were soft, they were tender, super flavorful, smoky. It was definitely a good appetizer. The second appetizer that we did, I have to give credit to Kartez on this one. He suggested we do crab cakes. I'm down with that. Who doesn't like crab cakes? So the original idea behind the crab cakes was he wanted to do a lime mango chutney or like relish or something like that, which I feel like that's a great idea because it's colorful, it's flavor, and it will go great with the seafood, especially with the crab. Unfortunately, the mangoes that we got, they wasn't up to par to our standards, and we're not going to serve anybody, whether it's 17th Catering Company, whether it's Kartez or Kartez Cookies, because he's also a baker also. That's why I told you check his stuff out. You'll find out he bakes cookies, but we're off topic. The mangoes didn't look too good. It wasn't up to par to our standards, so we ditched them. Now we're sitting here with these crab cakes, which I I seared, as you can see in the video, beautifully seared. We did season them with Old Bay before we seared them, just to kind of lock in that flavor, to kind of enhance the crab. But we needed a sauce. So Kartez, he was like, Chef Pleasance, can you make a sauce? I'm like, can I make a sauce? What? Yeah. Now, granted, at this event, there was a bartender who was the owner of the house. She was also the bartender. I'm about like 2 Jack and Cokes in. I'm like, yeah, I can make a sauce. Looking around, I'm like, what the heck can I make a sauce out of here with? But I seen we had mayonnaise, we had fresh limes, and automatically I thought Cajun lime remoulade. So that was the topping on the crab cakes. And then Kartez has this salt, Merlot salt. I've seen a lot of different salts, a lot of different colors, a lot of different flavors, especially like finishing salts, but I've never seen a Merlot salt. It was aromatic, you know, it smelled amazing. It looked phenomenal. It's like a purple or like purplish violet color, and it just looked good on top of the crab cakes because it gave it the extra pop and the extra flair, especially with the flavor also. Beautifully done. That was our 2 appetizers. Now let's get into the main dish. Originally, I was thinking about doing salmon, you know, because salmon you can do multiple ways, whether you stuff it or whether you sear it. You can do salmon cakes, you know, it's so many different applications you can do with salmon. Excuse me. But one of the things Kartez had a good point on is that salmon has a really strong fishy smell, and it lingers on your breath. So if you're conversating with people, your breath's going to smell like salmon, and you know it's going to make the other person in the conversation be like, "Oh, it breath smell like fish." It's going to make everything kind of awkward. So he suggested fish that wasn't that the smell wouldn't linger on the breath as much. So he suggested red snapper. Now I've had red snapper before, but I've never prepared a red snapper. So it was kind of like I didn't know the texture of the fish and as far as how to prepare the fish. So the way I did it was, if you look in the small clip right here, I just oiled it up with olive oil, salt and pepper, real simple, real basic. I didn't want to take away any of the characteristics of the fish. And then I did a hard sear in a cast iron skillet, and then I put it into a casserole dish, and I topped it with a lemon slice, and I finished it in the oven. I don't remember what temperature. I want to say 325 or 350, but it was like low and slow, because it's a thick fish, right? So I didn't want to overcook it, but I also wanted to make sure it was cooked thoroughly. Now, a fish like this, you want a nice sauce, right? And the sauce that I came up with was a lemon Chardonnay cream sauce. Perfect match for this fish. The consistency and the flavor was spot on. I didn't want a thick sauce because, like I said, I didn't want to take any characteristics away from the fish, but I wanted a sauce that will enhance the flavor. You know what I mean? So that's why I went with the lemon Chardonnay sauce, because you had the lemon, which fish and lemon go hand in hand. You had the Chardonnay, which if you're ever doing a pairing with wine, white wine is always the way to go with fish, and Chardonnay is just kind of like spot on with the flavors. And then I sauteed shallots and a little bit of garlic into the sauce before adding the cream, and then the butter gives it volume, right? That's how you get the thickness from the butter when you put it into it. So that was just amazing. Everything came into sync, and that's the end result right there. Very, very amazing dish. Now the sides, we did 5 sides because we wanted to kind of give everybody a different choice. But we didn't want to pile everything on one plate, so we did the sides, like I said earlier, family style. We just put them in bowls and dishes on the table, and you kind of just either you liked it and you went for it, or you didn't and you skipped over and went to the next one. It was all on the guest choice. So, because every good entree needs a sidekick. I'm gonna tell you about these sidekicks, all right? Let me tell you about these sidekicks. Oh man, so I'm gonna start off with the Brussels sprouts. Roasted Brussels sprouts with a bourbon glaze. I done it two ways. I done one with bacon for those who really enjoy food and love being a foodie. Because if you have roasted Brussels sprouts, you gotta have bacon. And if you have roasted Brussels sprouts and bacon, you gotta have bourbon. You gotta have the 3 Bs to fully enjoy the effect. Some people don't eat bacon, so I did one with just the roasted Brussels sprouts and the bourbon glaze. Both of them were phenomenal. Both of them turned out amazing. Both of them went through like crazy. But it's just one, for those who really want to get the full effect. So the one with the bacon, like I said, so with the Brussels sprouts, I roasted all my veggies, real simple, olive oil, salt, pepper. Once again, I don't want to take away the characteristic of the ingredient. And then you have the saltiness and the smokiness from the applewood bacon, and then you have the bourbon glaze, which the bourbon stands on its own. And then you have the glaze with it, so it's kind of like sweet, but you still get that bourbon flavor mixed in with the salt from the bacon, and then the savoriness from the roasted Brussels sprouts. I mean, it clashed. Everything was amazing. Everything fell in sync. It was like a puzzle. And when that bourbon glaze was the last piece of a beautiful, beautiful picture. It was great. Moving on, we did roasted asparagus bundles. And the way that I did this, right, is super easy. I blanched the asparagus and the green onions together. And the reason I did that together is you want the green onions to be flexible and pliable when you tie it up. Essentially, you're blanching the asparagus, right? And then you're roasting. Now for those who don't know what blanching is when you put vegetables, mainly like green vegetables. I mean, it can be any vegetable, really, if you think about it, but mostly like green vegetables, asparagus, broccoli, snap peas, green beans, stuff like that has a lot of color. You put them in boiling water for about 10 to 15 seconds, and then immediately you take them out and you put it into an ice bath. And what happens is that's the boiling, and when you shock it, it stops cooking, but you retain the full color of the vegetable. And then once it's chilled, you can do it in any way you want to, whether you want to grill it, roast it, batter, fry, whatever, but it keeps that green color. Now, if we didn't blanch it and we went ahead and roasted it, the color came out like a pale green. And even though the flavors would have been slightly similar, the presentation would have been off. And, we didn't want to do that. So that's why I blanched it. And then the green onions, if you try to tie the bundles with just a raw green onion, you could do it, but you may either rip the green onion, or it may break off, or it may just look too stiff. So when you blanch it, it makes it easier to kind of like cross it over and do the tie, and then you can actually pull it a little tighter to make it sure that it's secure. Just for presentation wise, it looks great. And then we finished it in the oven. So I blanched it, and then when it's time to serve, I threw it in the oven for about 5 minutes to get some heat to it, and then I wrapped it, each bundle, and I put it back in the oven for about 3 minutes just to get everything, to the right temperature. And that's how we did with that. I wanted to keep that simple. It was more for presentation than flavor, because we had so much flavors going on all the dishes plus the entree. I didn't want to take away or make anything not stand out. So with that, and when I roasted it, I used avocado oil and salt and pepper. So instead of olive oil, I did avocado oil, just something different. On the next dish, we did honey glazed parsnips. Now, if you never had parsnips, right? Parsnips are a real rooty and like starchy vegetable. So you kind of got to cook them a little longer than you would do a traditional carrot. But for these parsnips, I peeled them, I cut them in half, and then each half I cut at a bias. Then I seasoned them, and then I roasted them. But I only roasted them for about 5 to 10 minutes. I don't remember the exact time, but it was in between 5 to 10 minute intervals. And because I didn't want them to be all the way done. I wanted them to be tender, but still firm in the middle, because once they chilled, we had to saute them with the honey glaze. And so I wanted, and then after honey glaze, we had I had put them in the oven so that the parsnips can kind of caramelize a little bit. But you don't want to cook them thoroughly when you're roasting them, because then by the time you saute them and throw them in the oven, they're going to be real soft, and it's not going to look right. So you want them to have a little play, but when you bite into it, you still get a little snap in it. So that's how we did that. And for the last dish, we did Kartez, because Kartez always gives me credit, and I gotta give credit to Kartez on this one. He did a risotto, right? But he did a creamy spinach risotto with Asiago and Parmesan cheese. Let me tell you about this risotto right here. All right, for those who know me, I don't like spinach. I can cook with it all day. I just don't like eating it. I don't know why. Bad childhood experience. I don't know. I probably was forced to too many times. I just don't like it. Spinach is not for me. But in this risotto, the flavors were so spot on. I didn't even know spinach was in it. Like, I can visually see that it had spinach all throughout it, but the flavors were so intense that I didn't even care that spinach was in it, because I couldn't taste it, you know? The Asiago, the parm, and then the way he did the risotto, oh my God, the flavors. So spot on with that. That was amazing. If you could cook something for me and then cook it in a way where there's an ingredient that I don't like in it, and I can't tell that ingredient is in it, applause all day. And that's exactly what he did. So shout out to Chef Kartez for that awesome risotto. It was truly, truly amazing, sir. Probably the highlight of all the sides, actually. Now, dessert. Dessert was amazing. So what I did for the dessert, I wanted to do something with apples, because fall apples, you know, it's either gonna be apples or it's gonna be pumpkins. I ain't even feel like dealing with pumpkins, so I'm going with apples. I want to go the easier route. Well, not the easier route, because there's nothing easy about the prep for this event. I wanted to go something that was time friendly, let's put it like that. So I did a mascarpone pastry cream tart with roasted apples and a bourbon brown sugar glaze. I know you're thinking, Nick, everything has bourbon in it. Bourbon is great as a drink, but also the flavors inside of a bourbon or any good quality whiskey, if done right, you can cook multiple dishes and each one tastes different, because it's all about how you treat the bourbon. You know what I mean? It's all about how you enhance the flavor and enhance the consistency of the sauce that you're doing with. If you do that correctly, you can use bourbon all day and you won't even know in some of the dishes that you have bourbon because of how you treated it. That's why I like bourbon so much. And as far as my cooking, but for this one, I did the tart crust by scratch, and then I did the pastry cream by scratch, and I folded in the mascarpone cheese, and then I chilled it. Right? I put it in the freezer because I wanted to firm up as much as possible. And then when it was time to serve, I cut it into slices like this, and I topped it off with the apples, and then I I spooned the bourbon brown sugar glaze on top. I can sit here and tell you about how great it is, but we were lucky. because we had a photographer and a videographer, and they captured the essence of what this dessert is. And just don't take my word for it. Just see their reaction.
Oh, it's gonna be legally candidate. Wow. Right? Bro, y'all talking too much. Everybody give it up to Chef Pleasant for that part. Is it any more? Wow. Hey, Chef Pleasant, is it any more? Wow. Hey, everybody clap it up for y'all. Wow. Wow. It's some more. I'm so jealous. It's so good.
You see what I'm talking about? Do you see what I'm talking about? That right there makes everything that I do so much more enjoyable, because at the end of the day, that's what I like. You know, just that first bite of a good dish that it can either make or break any event. But it's that first bite when it's good and it takes you back to a happy place, or it's something so good, it's something that your soul needed but your body didn't know that it needed, and then once you got it in you, you were just like, oh man, that's why I do what I do. That's why I became a caterer. That's why I started doing these videos. That's why I like doing private events and private dinners, because I like to see people eat my food and I like to see their reactions. That's the ultimate form of gratitude, when you enjoy every bite and you clean. They clean plates. I never felt so honorable and so just like amazing than I did on that event. It was, I gave you a lot of words, but there's not enough words for me to really showcase or appreciate everybody that showed up for that event. But that's what I did a few weekends ago. Hope you enjoyed this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed the pictures. I hope you enjoyed the conversations. And like I said, if you want to see recipes, or if you want recipes for anything, or if you want to see me do a video of any of the things that we've done, just let me know and I will work on it for you guys. And that's all I got for you. If you're a chef, it don't matter if you're a line cook or a home cook. If you're a food enthusiast and you like to talk about food, I would love to hear from you. I would love to have you on the episode of Chef's Talk, because everybody loves to eat and everybody loves good food. So let's talk about it. That's what I got. As always, I like to say thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and stay humble, stay blessed, stay hungry, stay cooking. I'll talk to y'all later now.